It always starts the same way. She looks at you not as you are, but as who she imagines you might become. You feel it in her eyes, that flicker of hope, or is it hunger? You mistake it for being seen, but you're not. You're being measured, scanned like a blank canvas, waiting for her to paint her masterpiece. But the masterpiece isn't you. It's a phantom, a role she's cast you in long before you met. Carl Jung, the man who mapped the shadowy depths of the unconscious, warned of this, not with platitudes, but with the precision of a surgeon dissecting the human soul. His life's work revealed a terrifying truth. Women don't fall in love with men. They fall in love with the idea of men, the fantasy, the projection. And most never realize they're doing it. You think she's choosing you. She's not. She's choosing the version of you she's conjured in her mind, a psychological puppet strung up to play a part in her private myth. When you stop fitting the script, she doesn't rewrite the story. She replaces the actor. Jung called this phenomenon the animus, the inner masculine force living in every woman's unconscious. When undeveloped, this animus becomes a tyrant. It drives women to chase dangerous men and reject stable ones, to argue without logic, dominate without wisdom, and moralize without accountability. Jung didn't soften this truth. He described it as spiritual possession, a woman so gripped by her unconscious animus that she confuses her fantasies for reality, her projections for love. And men, you fall for it. You mistake being desired for being known. You confuse being chosen with being understood. You believe her when she says you're different, not realizing you're just the latest face slapped onto a role she's rehearsed since childhood. When the fantasy crumbles, when you inevitably fail to live up to the myth, you're left shattered, wondering what you did wrong. But you did nothing wrong. You simply stopped performing. Jung's escape from this psychological theater, individuation, the brutal, lifelong journey of becoming whole. But most men never start. You've been trained to chase approval, to let women define your worth. As long as you do, you'll keep playing the same role, replaced each time the audience grows bored. Individuation isn't glamorous. It demands you confront the parts of yourself you've buried, the weak, the insecure, the broken. It forces you to stop blaming women for not seeing you and start seeing yourself. Because here's what Jung knew. You don't become a man by being chosen. You become a man by choosing yourself. A man who's faced his own unconscious can't be seduced by projection. He's no longer a puppet. He's the author. Jung observed that modern men's greatest tragedy isn't rejection. It's their willingness to mold themselves into whatever shape they think will be accepted. You call it compromise. Jung called it self-betrayal. Men who ignore their inner growth become slaves to feminine projections, bending like wet clay into forms demanded by women who don't even know their own desires. You stop being men, you become masks, smiling, nodding, performing, until you forget who you were before the curtain rose. Women sense this. The obedience, predictability, and availability you think will make her love you, they're why she loses attraction. Jung taught that the feminine instinct isn't drawn to comfort, it's drawn to mystery, risk, the man she can't fully define. The moment you make yourself fully known without boundaries, you don't become more lovable, you become invisible, replaceable. Yet here's the paradox that enslaves men. You fear solitude more than falseness. You'd rather lose yourself than lose her. You'd rather live a role than stand without applause. But Jung warned, until a man embraces solitude, he'll never be free. Individuation is a path for the fearless. It requires you to die before you die. To let false versions of yourself burn so something real can rise. Let me be clear. Individuation is lonely, terrifyingly so. As you walk it, you'll see games people play, masks they wear, lies they tell to feel safe. When you point this out, they'll mock you, call you cold, arrogant, a problem. But you're not the problem. You're the mirror, and people hate mirrors that reflect what they refuse to face. Women, Jung argued, are often raised to avoid confronting their own shadows. Told they're pure, intuitive, complete, they're rewarded for ignoring their inner chaos. But the animus doesn't disappear. It festers. It becomes the voice of false certainty, false authority, a tyrant blaming men for wars she wages within herself. And you, thinking you'll be the exception, pour your soul into loving her, proving yourself, performing. But projection is a thief. It steals reality and replaces it with illusion. Until both sexes wake from this delusion, they'll keep dancing with shadows, blaming each other for steps neither chose. The cruelest twist? The woman who once saw you as her hero will one day see you as her villain, not because you changed, but because you failed to fulfill the fantasy she never told you you were hired to play. You didn't lie. You didn't cheat. You simply disappointed the invisible character she invented. You were never him. And that's why she resents you, not for your flaws, but for failing to live her myth. Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. Nowhere is this truer than in romance. Relationships become collusions of projection partners, dragging unmet needs, unlived fears, and childhood wounds into each other's arms. You call it love. Jung called it possession. And like a hypnotized man, you walk into the trap, thinking this time will be different. But it never is. Because you refuse to ask the most terrifying question, what if I'm responsible for this pattern? You want to blame women, call them shallow, manipulative. But Jung would stare you down and ask, why did you let her choose you? The man who avoids his own inner work becomes a slave to hers. You're not a victim, you're a volunteer. You chose the role, because facing your emptiness, your lack of wholeness, was more terrifying than performing in someone else's fantasy. Here's where most men quit, where comfort ends and responsibility begins. Jung didn't offer shortcuts, no 3 steps to alpha male greatness. He offered the lifelong task of self-confrontation, sitting alone until illusions crack, until the voice whispering, "You're nothing without her," dies. That voice will fight. It'll say you need her, that you're incomplete. But Jung whispers something dangerous. The man who stands without her, without approval, applause, or need, is finally free from projection, performance, tyranny. When you reach that place, you don't become cold. You become real, rooted, alive. And paradoxically, that's when women feel most drawn to you, not because you need them, but because you don't. You'll smile, not from heartlessness, but from understanding. She's on her own journey. She must face her animus, wake from her illusions. You can't save her. You can only walk your path so fearlessly that you become a mirror reflecting truth. Most will look away. A rare few will thank you. The difference between being loved for a role and being respected for who you are is a chasm most men never cross. When you stop performing, something shifts. People grow uneasy around you. Your presence unsettles them. You no longer fit the categories they use to feel safe. Jung warned, the individuated man isn't welcomed by society. He's feared, labeled distant, arrogant. But the truth is worse. You've become untouchable. You see through the game. The irony? Those who once begged for your attention now resent you for not needing theirs. Women trapped in their fantasies will call you emotionally unavailable. They'll say you're too in your head. What they mean is they can't control you. You've stepped off the stage, stopped reading their script. Without it, they don't know what to do with you. You're no longer a character, you're a man. Jung joked that the gods have become diseases. Ancient cultures called it divine possession. Modern psychology calls it neurosis. Men chasing validation are the sickest of all. You think you're romantic when you say, "I'd do anything for her." Jung would call it spiritual evasion. You're refusing to carry your own soul, projecting it onto her instead. But no woman can hold that weight. When she drops it, and she must, you'll feel betrayed. Don't. Thank her. The collapse of the illusion forces you to face the truth. Becoming a man was always your work. In that raw clarity, you have two choices: blame her, grow bitter, join the chorus of men cursing women, or do what Jung demanded, turn inward, begin the lonely, liberating work of individuation. The woman you seek out there is a reflection of the self you've abandoned. Until you reclaim that self, every relationship is a transaction, every love a lie. But when you face it, when you integrate your shadows, you stop chasing women. You don't manipulate, perform, beg. You stand still, rooted, and from that stillness miracles happen. You attract women who want truth, not characters. You'll know her when she arrives. She won't demand performances. She won't need to change you. She'll stand raw, real, not a goddess seeking worship, but a human walking her own path beside yours. No masks, no games. She won't flood you with grand declarations. She won't call you her missing piece. She's done her work, faced her shadow, burned her illusions. That's why she doesn't need you to perform. She'll look you in the eye, whole herself, seeing you, not a fantasy. In that meeting, there's no desperation, no clinging, only truth. And that truth, Jung taught, is the rarest love. Born not of need, but freedom. Freedom to choose, to walk away, to stand together without fear. But most men never taste this. They settle for performances, fantasies, the cheap thrill of being seen as someone they're not. Facing who you are is unbearable, until it's not. If you have the courage to keep walking, to stand alone, to strip every false layer, you'll reach something terrifyingly beautiful, yourself. And when you do, women cease to be sources of identity. They become partners, allies. You'll love them not from need, but choice. From strength, wholeness, the unshakable knowing of who you are. Jung didn't leave a map, he left a warning. Refuse to confront yourself and you'll remain a slave to projections. But he also left a challenge. Walk the path of individuation. Stop blaming women for roles you volunteered to play. Stop seeking wholeness in their eyes. The man who chooses himself fully, ruthlessly, can't be controlled by fantasies. He can't be reduced to a character. He becomes the author. If this cuts deep, don't scroll away. Don't let this be another forgotten sermon. Like this video. Share it with a man still trapped in the illusion. Subscribe. Your support isn't for us. It's for the next man waking up. Help spread this. Help him see. The mirror is brutal, but the reflection it offers is the only way out.